You didn't stumble here, you were summoned. Something in the invisible architecture of your life conspired for you to hear these words at this exact time. Call it resonance, call it destiny, call it the subtle gravity of the quantum field pulling you into place. Whatever name you choose, the fact remains you arrived not by chance, but by signal. For too long, you've felt it, that uneasy restlessness, like a bird whose wings outgrow the cage, like static in the air before a storm. You move through familiar routines, but they no longer feel like home. Conversations repeat like echoes. Old patterns circle like loops of code running in the background of your mind. And yet, beneath it all, there's a whisper something is pressing closer, something wants to break through. This whisper is not ordinary intuition. It's the foreshock of a quantum jump. A quantum jump is not a minor adjustment, not a surface-level tweak. It's a reorganization of reality itself, as if all the channels of existence were already broadcasting and suddenly your awareness locks onto a brand new station. The old world doesn't vanish. It simply recedes like yesterday's dream. And here's the mystery: the pull you've been feeling isn't coming from outside. It's coming from the version of you that already leapt, already breathed freer, already aligned with a greater current. That self is reaching back through time, nudging you with synchronicities, pressing you with urgency, whispering through déjà vu and repeating signs. It is your own future, magnetizing you toward itself. So take this moment seriously, not with fear, but with awe, because the signs aren't random. The restlessness isn't meaningless. And the reason you're hearing these words right now is simple. The shift is already underway. You're not waiting for a lightning strike. You're standing in it. Breathe. Feel that subtle hum in your chest, that sense of inevitability. This is your invitation, your activation, your call to step into the leap that is already unfolding. The jump is not tomorrow, it is now. And from that breath, from that hum in your chest, the story doesn't pause, it deepens. Because once you recognize that the signal is real, you begin to see how it threads itself into the fabric of your days. Resonance is never random. It's the quiet architecture of reality, arranging people, places, and even your own emotions in patterns that point toward alignment. Think about the way numbers appear, 11 and 11, blinking on a clock, or a sequence repeating on receipts, license plates, screens. At first, you brush it off as coincidence, but then it happens again and again, until coincidence feels less like randomness and more like choreography. This is resonance speaking in symbols, a language that bypasses the logical mind. You don't calculate it, you feel it. The same is true when forgotten faces resurface. Perhaps someone from your past suddenly reaches out, or old memories rise uninvited into your awareness. These aren't accidents, they're echoes of unfinished frequencies, resurfacing because your field is preparing to clear what no longer belongs. The resonance of who you once were meets the resonance of who you are becoming, and in that collision, you sense the pull forward. Even your body speaks this language. Restlessness at night, that subtle vibration under your skin, emotions moving in waves stronger than usual. These are signals, not of something wrong, but of something recalibrating. Your system is tuning itself to match the frequency of the timeline calling you. It's like when a radio antenna catches fragments of a broadcast before locking into the full channel. You hear snippets, static, and then clarity. You may notice déjà vu unfolding with increasing frequency. Moments that feel eerily familiar, as if you've already walked this street, spoken these words, felt this exact sensation. This isn't imagination, it's resonance again. Your awareness is brushing against the edges of a timeline already alive, and the familiarity is simply your soul recognizing its own next step before your mind can explain it. But here's where most people turn away. They dismiss the signs, label them coincidences, tell themselves they're imagining things. In doing so, they mute the very resonance guiding them to their leap. You, however, are different. The fact that you've stayed with this message, listening, feeling, considering, means you are not one of the sleepers. You are awake enough to recognize that the universe speaks through patterns, that your life is not random noise, but coded signal. And yet resonance is not just about the mystical, it's practical. Consider how you feel when you enter certain rooms. Some spaces energize you, others drain you. Some people lift you, others leave you heavy. This isn't mere preference, it's vibrational alignment at work. Your field is constantly measuring resonance, showing you what supports your becoming and what anchors you to your past. The question is whether you trust it, because resonance has one mission: to align you with the version of yourself that already exists in the higher timeline. That's why it feels like being pulled forward, like leaning towards something unseen yet undeniable. It isn't random gravity, it's your own future tugging you home. You may have noticed, too, that when you follow resonance, when you say yes to what feels expansive, even if it scares you, the world rearranges around you. Doors open, unexpected support arrives. Time stretches or collapses in uncanny ways. That's because resonance is the compass of the quantum field. It doesn't just point north, it points true self. And here's the paradox: the pull of resonance is both gentle and relentless. Ignore it, and it grows louder, pressing through disruptions, synchronicities, even dreams that refuse to fade. Honor it, and it becomes a current that carries you with less resistance than you ever imagined. So pause here, friend, and ask yourself what has been pulling at you lately. Which whispers won't leave you alone? Which patterns feel too precise to dismiss? These are not background noise. They are your roadmap, your coordinates in the infinite web of timelines. Follow them, and you'll discover the deeper truth. Resonance isn't just guidance. It is proof you're already in motion, that the quantum jump is not coming, it's happening. The pull of resonance leads naturally to this next revelation. Every pattern, every signal is guiding you toward a point of choice. You've felt it, those moments where two paths seem to open, one familiar and safe, the other bold and uncertain. On the surface, these moments look like ordinary decisions, but beneath them is the architecture of timelines collapsing into form. Imagine you're standing at a crossroads deep in an ancient forest. Every path looks real, but only one carries the fragrance of your future. The others are echoes of your past, comfortable but heavy with repetition. The quantum field is like that forest. Infinite branches of possibility stretch outward, yet your awareness, your decision acts like a beam of light, illuminating only one trail at a time. This is the hidden mechanism of destiny, not a single predetermined story written somewhere in the stars, but a convergence of countless micro-decisions that form a pattern. Each time you choose based on expansion instead of contraction, truth instead of fear, you step into a higher resonance. You literally collapse a universe of possibilities into one lived reality. Consider the times in your life when everything changed, not through a massive event, but through a subtle moment of resolve. The night you finally said enough, the morning you chose to speak your truth, the day you walked away from what no longer fit. These were not random, they were portals disguised as decisions. And yet, the field doesn't demand perfection, it responds to alignment. This means that even if you've missed signals before, even if you've chosen the old path many times, the moment you choose differently, the entire timeline recalculates like a GPS, adjusting your route after a missed turn. This is why you can never be too late for your destiny. Every decision point is another doorway, another chance to step into the version of you already waiting. You might notice, too, that at these crossroads, time behaves differently. Synchronicities multiply. Conversations you overhear feel coded, almost conspiratorial. Random encounters feel purposeful. That's not your imagination. It's the quantum field tightening its weave, arranging variables to nudge you toward the path of greatest alignment. But here's the deeper layer. The emotional signature of your choices matters more than the surface details. Expansion often feels like excitement mixed with fear, a trembling yes. Contraction feels like safety mixed with dread, a quiet no. The field isn't measuring logic, it's reading vibration. When you choose the option that carries expansion, you align with the frequency of your future self. When you choose contraction, you anchor in the old story. This is why self-awareness is crucial. Before you leap into a decision, pause, breathe, ask, does this feel like expansion or contraction? Your body already knows. Your mind may argue, your fear may whisper, but your inner compass will always reveal the path aligned with your higher timeline. And remember, each decision point is a convergence. You are not just deciding about jobs, relationships, or moves. You are selecting the version of you who lives on the other side of that choice. You're stepping into a new narrative, a new vibration, a new architecture of reality. This is the quantum mechanism behind what people call fate. It's not imposed upon you, it's co-authored by you. As you begin to see this, life stops feeling random. You notice the hidden architecture behind the scenes. You realize every conversation, every invitation, every internal nudge might be a portal in disguise. And with that awareness, you shift from drifting to steering. You become the conscious selector of timelines. So, friend, stand for a moment at your current crossroads. Feel the weight of your next decision. It may seem small, a phone call, a word unsaid, a risk taken, but beneath it flows the power to rewrite your future. The quantum field is waiting, shimmering with possibility. It will mirror whichever vibration you choose. Choose expansion. Choose alignment. Choose the path that feels like truth, even if it shakes you. Because in that trembling, you are already stepping into your new timeline. And when you stand at those crossroads, when you begin choosing expansion over contraction, something curious happens next: disruption. Not the kind of chaos meant to punish, but the kind that cracks the old shell so the new life can emerge. Think of a seed pushing against smoked soil, splitting itself open to sprout. From the outside, it looks like destruction. From the inside, it is birth. You may have already felt it. The job that once felt secure suddenly feels suffocating. Friendships that once offered comfort now drain you. Habits that once soothed begin to sting. This isn't coincidence, it's the tension of a frequency outgrowing its environment. Just like a snake shedding its skin, you feel the tightness before the release. Disruption is the universe's way of saying, you don't belong here anymore. It rearranges what no longer resonates until you can no longer ignore the misalignment. It doesn't arrive with politeness, it arrives with friction. And this friction is proof of transformation. Consider tectonic plates beneath the earth. When they grind against each other, the pressure builds, the ground quakes, and landscapes shift. In the same way, your inner evolution rubs against the structures of your old life until cracks appear. Relationships strain, routines collapse, opportunities vanish. To the logical mind, it looks like loss. To the quantum field, it is recalibration. You may notice increased emotional swings during these times. Tears surface without reason, irritation flares, fatigue lingers. These aren't signs of weakness, they are signals of energy reordering itself. Your body, mind, and spirit are recalibrating to hold the vibration of your new timeline. Imagine tuning an instrument. Sometimes the string must be stretched until it nearly snaps, only to produce perfect resonance once it settles. And yet, Most people misinterpret disruption. They assume it means failure, that they've taken a wrong turn, but the truth is the opposite. Disruption is confirmation. It means the old reality is destabilizing because the new one is pressing in. The very ground that shakes beneath you is the evidence that a different foundation is forming. This is why resistance only prolongs the discomfort. Fighting the breakdown is like trying to glue a cocoon shut when the butterfly is already pushing its wings through. The struggle isn't meant to be stopped, it's meant to be surrendered to. Your task is not to patch the cracks, but to trust what is emerging through them. You might also experience external challenges that seem perfectly timed to test your resolve. A door closes just as you prepare to leap. An opportunity slips away when you thought it was certain. People doubt you, question you, even push against your choices. These are not punishments, they are the final tremors of the old timeline holding on. The closer you are to your breakthrough, the more resistance you may feel. But remember, this resistance is not the signal you're wrong. It is the proof you're close, like the last lock on a gate. It rattles hardest before it opens. So, what do you do when disruption appears? You pause, you breathe. You remember that discomfort is not a verdict, but a signal. You ask, what part of me is being asked to shed right now? And when the answer rises, whether it's a belief, a pattern, a relationship, you let it go, knowing that the release is not loss, but expansion. Because here's the hidden beauty: disruption clears space. It carves away what no longer serves, so that the resonance of your future self has room to anchor. Without disruption, the old frequency would cling to you forever. With it, you're freed. So next time you feel the ground shaking beneath your life, don't panic. Smile quietly. Recognize the tremors for what they are, the early signs of your quantum leap pressing through the surface. And instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is trying to emerge through me? Because when you see disruption as sacred, you stop fearing the quake and start trusting the shift. And in that trust, you become unshakable even as the world around you rearranges itself to match your new vibration. From the tremors of disruption, another current begins to rise, the language of synchronicity. If disruption cracks the shell, synchronicity is the light that filters through the cracks, showing you where to walk next. It speaks not in sentences, but in patterns, symbols, and alignments too precise to dismiss. You've noticed it before. Numbers repeating again and again. 11, 222, 333. They flash on clocks, receipts, license plates, phone screens. At first, you shake it off, but soon the repetition feels uncanny. This is no random sequence. It is the field speaking through numbers, showing you rhythm, cadence, and code. Numbers become the drumbeat of your becoming. And then there are the songs. A lyric plays on the radio, perfectly mirroring the thought you just had. A melody surfaces in the exact moment you needed reassurance. These aren't coincidences, they are quantum winks, reminders that your inner state is bleeding into the outer world. The universe doesn't speak English or Spanish, it speaks alignment. Dreams, too, take on a cinematic quality. You wake with scenes so vivid they feel borrowed from another reality. And perhaps they are, in dream space. Your awareness brushes against parallel timelines, sampling fragments before your waking self is ready to step fully into them. The dream becomes a preview of the leap you're about to make. Even conversations transform. A stranger says something that answers a question you've been silently carrying. A friend mentions a word or phrase that stirs your soul in an inexplicable way. These are not random remarks, they are quantum signal, sliding into your awareness at just the right time. But here's the key: synchronicities multiply when you're close to a shift. They are mile markers on the road to your new timeline. If disruption is the tension, synchronicity is the reassurance. One shakes your foundations, the other whispers, "Keep going, you're on the path." The danger lies in obsession. Too many people fixate on signs, chasing feathers, numbers, and coincidences like breadcrumbs, forgetting that the signs are not the destination, they are guides. They point toward the shift, but they are not the shift itself. To mistake the signal for the leap is to stall in waiting energy, forever collecting proofs while never stepping into embodiment. So how do you use the language of synchronicity wisely? By receiving it with gratitude, then letting it fuel your trust. You see the pattern, you smile, you whisper, "I hear you," and then you act. Because the sign's true purpose is to nudge you into movement, to remind you that reality is listening and ready to mirror your courage. The more you act in alignment, the more synchronicities flow. It's like striking a tuning fork. The vibration resonates outward, and suddenly everything around you begins to hum in harmony. You step into a feedback loop of resonance, inner signal matched by outer confirmation, which strengthens your inner resolve, which generates more outer confirmation, a spiral of coherence. And yet, there's a humility in this. Synchronicities aren't proof of control, they are proof of connection. You are not forcing reality into shape. You are recognizing that you and reality are co-authors, writing together in real time. The field arranges, you respond. You align, it mirrors. It's a conversation, not a command. So the next time the number sequence flashes, or the lyric lands too perfectly, or the dream grips you with déjà vu, pause. Don't brush it aside. Don't cling too tightly either. Receive it as a whisper from your future self, a gentle nod from the field that says, "Yes, keep moving. You're converging with me." Because when you stop dismissing synchronicities and start conversing with them, you discover they are not rare exceptions. They are the natural language of a conscious universe. And as you listen, you realize you were never moving alone. Every step has been guided, every pattern purposeful, every coincidence coded with meaning. This is quantum language. And once you learn to hear it, you can never again mistake your life for silence. From the coded whispers of synchronicity, we drift into an even stranger territory, the in-between. This is the place almost no one warns you about, the liminal hallway between the door you just closed and the one you're about to walk through. It's not dramatic like disruption, not dazzling like synchronicity. It's quieter, emptier, and for that reason, it can feel the most unnerving of all. Here, your old habits have lost their grip, old identities have begun to dissolve, yet the new self has not fully anchored. You're no longer who you were, but not quite who you're becoming. It feels like floating between worlds, like standing backstage before stepping into the light. The air is charged, but still. This void is not a mistake. It is the fertile field where old codes disintegrate and new blueprints write themselves into your being. Nature follows this rhythm everywhere. Seeds don't sprout the instant they're planted. They incubate in darkness. Caterpillars melt inside the cocoon before wings form. Even stars spend eons in invisible gestation before bursting into view. The in-between is life's secret workshop. And yet, because it feels empty, many people panic here. They mistake silence for absence. They rush to fill the void with distractions, old patterns, or premature action. In doing so, they drag yesterday's frequency into tomorrow's timeline. The true art is to stay present, to hold the discomfort like a womb holds potential. During this time, you may feel heightened sensitivity, dreams more vivid than waking life, emotions swinging like tides, uncanny glimpses of futures that haven't happened yet. This is your awareness brushing against adjacent timelines, sampling data before the full shift arrives. Your nervous system is recalibrating, rewiring itself to hold a higher resonance. It can also feel like loss. Friends drift away, Opportunities pause. Your old passions dim without new ones fully formed. But this isn't loss. It's clearing. Think of a hot air balloon rising only after sandbags are dropped. The pause you're in is gravity releasing its hold. So how do you navigate this void? By breathing into it, not fighting it. By grounding your body, walking barefoot, stretching slowly, feeling your heartbeat to anchor the rising energy. By keeping gentle rituals of presence, mourning stillness, journaling your impressions, whispering declarations of the self you're becoming. These practices don't force the new timeline, they stabilize you as it assembles. And above all, by trusting that emptiness is not emptiness at all. It is gestation. It is the pause between inhale and exhale where transformation seeds itself. When you accept the liminal, it becomes luminous. Pause for a moment right now. Feel the space between your last thought and your next breath. That's the void in miniature, spacious, alive, waiting. It's not a punishment for leaving your old self. It's an initiation into your new one. Stay here without rushing. Let the codes rewrite. Because when you emerge from this in-between, you won't just be stepping onto a new timeline, you'll be stepping into a new nervous system, a new orientation to reality itself. The void is the final hush before the music swells. From the silence of the void comes the next requirement: release. The in-between doesn't simply ask you to wait, it asks you to unclench your grip on what no longer belongs. Letting go is the doorway itself, the act of stepping across. Without it, the new timeline cannot stabilize. Think of a hot air balloon ready to ascend. It doesn't need more fuel or bigger flames, it needs to drop the sandbags. Each old belief, each lingering resentment, each outdated identity is a weight tethering you to the past. The moment you let it fall away, lift happens naturally. You don't have to force the rise, it's built into the design. But here's where many stumble. They confuse letting go with loss, as if release means giving up something valuable. In truth, you are not losing, you are aligning. Just as you wouldn't drag a winter coat into the peak of summer, the self you are becoming cannot carry yesterday's armor. The vibration doesn't fit. Old stories are often the heaviest. Those inner loops that say, I'm not enough. Life is always hard. Nothing works out for me. These aren't truths, they're patterns of resonance, grooves worn deep by repetition. Every time you rehearse them, you reattach yourself to the old frequency. The art of letting go begins with rewriting these scripts, not forcing positivity, but consciously speaking a truer story. I am ready. I am aligned. I am capable. Each new declaration is a frequency shift. Then there are attachments to people or environments. Some companions walk with you only for a season. Some places nourish you until they don't. Letting go doesn't mean cutting off in bitterness. It means discerning, does this person, this habit, this space reflect my future or my past? If it belongs to the past, releasing it is an act of love for both of you, because staying bound in misalignment serves no one. Resistance itself must also be released. Fighting the old timeline keeps you entangled with it. Wherever you battle, you feed. The secret is not to war against what you're leaving, but to starve it of attention. Withdraw your energy. Let it collapse on its own. In that silence, the new reality rises. And then comes the deepest layer: identity. Perhaps you've always seen yourself as the struggler, the outsider, the one who just survives. But those identities are characters in the old story, and they cannot cross into the new frequency. The self you're stepping into asks for a kind of identity death, not to erase you, but to free you. When you release who you thought you were, you create space to remember who you truly are. This is why letting go often feels like standing on the edge of emptiness. But emptiness is not loss, it is possibility. the infinite field waiting for you to choose again, like an artist clearing a canvas. The act of erasing makes space for the masterpiece. Practically, letting go looks like rituals of release. Crying when the tears rise instead of holding them back. Writing out the old stories and burning the page. Cleaning your space and donating what no longer fits. Breathing deeply until the weight lifts. These aren't small gestures, they are frequency resets. And when the release happens, even subtly, you feel it immediately. A lightness in your chest, a sudden clarity in your thoughts, a quiet freedom where heaviness once lived. That is the proof. That is the rise. So ask yourself right now, what am I still gripping that no longer belongs? Don't overthink the answer. Trust the first whisper that surfaces, that is the sandbag ready to fall away. And when you let it drop, know this: you're not ending your story. You're clearing the way for a new one, because every quantum jump requires letting go. And every letting go is not a death, it's a birth disguised as release. And once you've released, once the sandbags fall and the canvas clears, the next step rises naturally: activation. This is the moment where you stop waiting and start embodying, where you move from hope into certainty, from maybe into already, because the field doesn't respond to hesitation, it responds to coherence. Activation begins in imagination, but it doesn't end there. Close your eyes and see the version of you who has already made the leap. Notice their posture, the way they walk into a room, the tone of their voice. Feel their inner state, the calm, the confidence, the clarity. But don't just watch merge. Let their emotions wash through you until you are no longer picturing them. You are being them. This is the difference between hoping and activating. Hope says, someday. Activation declares, now. Hope vibrates in uncertainty, while activation hums with inevitability. And inevitability is magnetic. The field bends toward it, but visualization alone is not enough. The field listens most closely to congruence when your thoughts, emotions, and actions sing the same note. If you see yourself as abundant, act from abundance. If you feel yourself as healthy, act from health. Every aligned step becomes a broadcast, a frequency sent into the matrix declaring, this is the reality I live in. Language is another amplifier. When you say, I will be, the field keeps your desire in the future. But when you say, I am, the vibration anchors in the present. Words are not mere descriptions. They are sculptors of reality. Every I am becomes a carving, shaping the form of your new timeline. Rituals can further lock this in. Humanity has always marked transitions with symbolic acts. Candles, chants, movement, sacred objects. You can create your own. Write a letter from your future self and read it daily. Place a talisman on your desk that represents your new reality. Move your body in ways that embody the vibration of joy, strength, or freedom. These gestures bypass logic and imprint directly into your subconscious. Consistency is key. The quantum field doesn't respond to one burst of faith. It responds to sustained resonance. Think of a tuning fork, strike it once, and the sound fades. Keep it vibrating, and everything nearby tunes to it. Your job is to hold the note of your new self until reality harmonizes. And yes, resistance may arise. Doubt will whisper. Fear may surface. Even chaos might stir around you. But this is not failure, it's the old frequency shaking loose. When that happens, hold the vibration anyway. Each time you choose to stay in alignment despite the noise, you strengthen the new timeline until it stabilizes. This is why activation is not passive. It is a living practice. Every declaration, every aligned choice, every conscious breath is fuel. And with each act, the gap between who you were and who you are becoming collapses further. So pause now and ask yourself, if I were already living my new timeline, what would I do differently today? Whatever rises first, that is your activation step. Take it boldly, because every action aligned with your future self is not preparation, it is convergence. The doorway is open, the field is listening, and with every activated step, you are no longer waiting for your new reality, you are living it into form. And once the activation hums within you, once the spark catches flame, the next challenge arises: stabilization. Because a quantum leap is not just about touching the new frequency for a moment, it's about anchoring it until it becomes your baseline. Without stabilization, the shift can slip away like a vivid dream fading at dawn. With it, the leap becomes your lived reality. Think of tuning a radio. You've finally found the station clear, resonant, alive, but if your hand slips, the signal dissolves back into static. Stabilization is about holding the dial steady long enough for your nervous system, your thoughts, and your environment to reorganize around the new signal. The first key is repetition of state. Each morning, before the world rushes in, close your eyes and step back into the vibration of your jumped reality. Feel its emotions, hear its soundtrack. Ask yourself, if this were already my life, how would I feel waking up today? This daily practice rewires your nervous system so the new frequency becomes your default, not just a peak. The second key is environmental congruence. Look around you. Does your space reflect the vibration of your new timeline, or does it anchor you to the past clutter, outdated objects? Even colors can hold the old resonance. Shift your surroundings consciously. Add symbols, scents, sounds, and reminders that pull you toward the frequency you've chosen. Your subconscious reads your environment constantly. Every object either drags you backward or propels you forward. The third key is language and identity maintenance. After a jump, the ego often resists with whispers, "This isn't real, I can't sustain this." To stabilize, you must counter with declarations, "I am this now, this is my life." Not as a wish, but as fact. Words aren't just descriptions, they're anchors. Keep speaking the reality you've activated until the old voice quiets. Fourth comes body integration. Your energy rises fast during a quantum shift, but your body needs grounding to hold it. Nourish it, move it, breathe deeply. Walk barefoot on the earth, stretch slowly, drink water consciously. Just as a tree grows tall because its roots dig deep, your body must root the new vibration so it doesn't float away like a fleeting high. Fifth is neutralizing external noise. Old friends, habits, and environments may still carry the frequency of your old self. During stabilization, limit your exposure not from judgment, but from care. A pot fresh off the stove needs time to cool and set before being handled. In the same way, your new vibration needs space to solidify before testing against old frequencies. Sixth is emotional regulation. Even in your new timeline, life will present triggers. Stabilizing means learning to return quickly to your chosen state after disruptions. Meditation, breathwork, journaling, or simply pausing to recall your new vibration, these tools build resilience. Each return strengthens the muscle until recovery becomes effortless. And finally, celebration and gratitude. Every confirmation, no matter how small, is proof your new reality is stabilizing. A sign, a synchronicity, a sudden ease. Celebrate it. Gratitude amplifies coherence. It says to the field, "Yes, this is my life, I see it, I honor it." Every thank you is another stake driven into the ground, rooting your timeline deeper. Understand this stabilization isn't about clinging tightly in fear. It's about living so naturally in the new vibration that you don't have to hold it anymore. It holds you. One day you realize you're not practicing your new self. You're simply being it. The jump is no longer fragile, it's permanent. Pause now, feel your breath, whisper softly, I am here. I am this. This is my life now. That single conscious moment of anchoring is more powerful than hours of scattered effort, because stabilization is not about effort, it's about coherence. And coherence is the language the quantum field never ignores. And once stabilization roots itself into your body, into your breath, into your days, there remains one final step: sealing. If activation is ignition and stabilization is steady flame, then sealing is the act of locking the fire into your being so it cannot be extinguished. It is the declaration that says this is no longer a state. I visit, this is who I am. Sealing begins with presence. Take a slow, deliberate breath. Close your eyes and allow every detail of your jumped timeline to come alive. Feel its emotions, its textures, its clarity. Let it flood every corner of your awareness until it feels undeniable. This is not imagination. It is you tuning fully into the frequency you've already claimed. Next comes declaration. Speak aloud or whisper within. The words that anchor this reality into identity. I am fully present in my chosen timeline. I embody the vibration of my highest self. All of reality aligns to my intention. Speak them not as hope, but as truth. The power of sealing lies in coherence, your energy matching your words, your body carrying the certainty of your voice. Gratitude follows as the anchor. Thank the universe for every disruption that shaped you, every synchronicity that guided you, every moment of void that rewrote your codes. Gratitude is not polite reflection, it is quantum reinforcement. Each thank you sends ripples into the field, declaring completion, fullness, permanence. Then comes embodied action. Sealing is not just inner, it is outer. Move your body in ways that affirm your new frequency. Take small, aligned steps that your old self would have hesitated to take. Let intuition guide you toward choices that mirror your new reality. Each action is another stitch in the fabric of permanence. And finally, share your energy. A quantum shift is never only personal. When you radiate your new vibration into the world through your presence, your kindness, your courage, you amplify the field for others. Each conversation, each interaction becomes an opportunity to stabilize not only yourself, but the collective. Your leap becomes contagious, your frequency an invitation. Sealing is the moment you stop asking if you've changed. You know you have. It becomes less about maintaining and more about expressing. You realize that the jump is not a thing you did, it is now the ground beneath your feet, the breath in your lungs, the pulse of your life. So pause now. Feel this truth settle. You are no longer chasing your future. You have stepped fully into it. Your timeline is sealed, unshakable, alive. The leap is not a peak experience, it is your new foundation, and from here, everything unfolds differently. Opportunities align, people respond. Intuition sharpens, the universe reflects back the certainty you have claimed. The field no longer asks, "Are you ready?" It answers, "You are here." Take one last conscious breath. Whisper with conviction, "I am the architect of my reality. I am aligned, empowered, and complete. My quantum shift is sealed." And as those words vibrate through you, know this: the journey isn't ending, it is beginning on a higher floor, in a new frequency, in a reality that has been waiting for you all along. From sealing, the path doesn't end, it softens. The leap is no longer something you strain to hold. It becomes the natural rhythm of your being, like a bird realizing it doesn't have to flap every second to stay aloft. You begin to glide. Stability is not forced. It's the quiet baseline you return to, again and again. Pause here and reflect on the journey we've just walked together. You've felt the pull of resonance guiding you like a hidden compass. You've stood at crossroads. collapsing infinite timelines into one choice. You've weathered disruption and learned to read synchronicities as the universe's private language. You've endured the void, released the old, activated the new, stabilized your frequency, and sealed your shift into permanence. This isn't theory, it's a lived map of awakening. And yet, the beauty is this: you don't need to chase what's next. The quantum field isn't waiting to be conquered, it's waiting to be collaborated with. Every breath, every choice, every whisper of gratitude keeps you aligned without effort. The leap you've made is not a destination, but a doorway. Beyond it lies an unfolding reality that responds not to your fear, but to your coherence, not to your waiting, but to your being. So let yourself settle into the quiet power of this moment. Breathe into the truth that you are no longer reaching for your future, you are standing inside it. Notice the stillness beneath the excitement, the groundedness beneath the expansion. That balance is your anchor now. And as you move forward, remember, you do not walk alone. Every leap you embody sends ripples into the collective, strengthening the field for others. Your resonance becomes a lantern, guiding those still stumbling in the dark. This is how transformation multiplies, not through preaching, but through presence. Simply by being aligned, you amplify the shift for everyone around you. So carry this softly. Let the leap be gentle. Whisper your gratitude to the universe. Share your presence as a quiet beacon, and trust that the reality you've stepped into will continue to mirror your vibration with uncanny precision. Take one last breath with me now. Feel your feet on the ground, your heart steady, your spirit clear. Whisper, I am here, I am whole, I am aligned, and let that certainty echo outward, knowing that your quantum jump is not only complete, it is alive in every step you take from this moment forward.